Hey, folks, welcome to another episode of Cutter One. I am your host, Jay Just Jay, your resident troublemaker, your resident culture warrior. So, let's get into it. Um, I'm thinking, and you guys let me know what you think down in the comments below, but maybe like every Tuesday, we'll do something like a Tolkien Tuesday where we I don't know, I'll like put together a video about a very specific part of the lore or something that, a specific subject, but in relation to Tolkien and his works. And that's what the episode of the day will be about that. And I'm thinking maybe like Tolkien Tuesdays or something cheesy like that. I don't know. If you guys have any better ideas, better names or whatever and stuff like that, let me know down in the comment section below. But anyway, I figured I'd share this one with you because it poses an interesting question that I find interesting, and they get some information wrong, as always. But it's cool. But let's get right into it. This one is coming to us from Gamer Rant, and it is Rings of Power. Will Season 2 show more of the Ents? Will Season 2 finally give Tolkien fans their first glimpse of the mysterious Entwives? The Ents are one of the most beloved creatures in Tolkien's legendarium, because they stand for peace, nature, and a love of things that grow rather than a need for fire and destruction, as many races in Middle-earth possess. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I think people like the Ents because the Ents are kind of cool and you haven't really seen them, and everybody has been around the tree. So if, talking trees are like talking dogs, you know what I mean? Like everybody's been around one, so if you had one that could sit there and converse with you, it'd be way cool. But anyway, I digress. The original Rings of Power trailer showed a brief glimpse of these ancient beings, which got fans very excited about the prospect of exploring some of the lore surrounding the shepherds of the forest. But unfortunately, this same brief glimpse was all that was shown within the series itself, too. This has led to many questions and discussions surrounding whether or not Season 2 of the Amazon show will finally give fans a long-awaited exploration of the origin story. So let's take a look. It's a real short clip. I'm going to try and play it, so hopefully I don't screw this up. It's a real short clip, but let's take a look at what people are talking about. I noticed it in the trailer. And it's literally the one scene, and it showed up again in the show proper, and that's it. And nothing was ever made of it for the season. So let's see what they are talking about. Let's get right down to it. And there we are. So I'm wondering if what we're seeing here is, if that's an Entwife, and these are the Ents, or maybe these guys are Hurons, like Old Man Willow. If you read the books, he's the one that tries to eat Frodo and them, the tree. I don't know. Interesting. All right. So anyway, that was the clip that was shown in the trailer as well as in the show. That's all you see. That's all they ever show of them, is that. That's it. Okay. All right, so let's get back to the article. Exploration of the origin story. Already in Rings of Power, the writers and directors of the show have touched upon the importance of trees among the elven race, both with the desperate acquisition of mithril to heal the linden leaves that are sick and dying, and also with the pain that Arondir feels as he is forced to cut down the tree by the orc army that enslaves him in the early part of the season. And it is known from The Lord of the Rings that at some point in Middle-earth history, the elves began waking up the trees and teaching them to speak, unquote. So surely it can only be a matter of time until these significant events begin to culminate in the portrayal on screen of these trees who can talk and their guides who keep them safe in the quickly mechanizing world. This becomes especially prevalent when considering that the Rings of Power series is set to portray the Battle of the Last Alliance during its future series, and this battle is believed to have had a huge part to play in the Entwives disappearing. According to Tolkien's lore, the Entwives began to travel east during the Second Age of the world, so that they would pass on their teachings and their love of flowers, vegetables, and moss to the men and hobbits of Middle Earth. Okay, stop. Full stop. Full stop. In Tolkien's lore, there are no hobbits in the Second Age. Okay? This is established fact. Even people that try to defend this show understand that according to what Tolkien wrote, the hobbits don't make their first appearance until year 1000 of the Third Age. Now, some people could argue and say, well, maybe there were hobbits around before then. They just weren't, they just were going under the radar, which is a fair argument to make. However, you can then not say that the Ents were going to teach them about vegetables and moss and flowers and so on and so forth because nobody knew they were there. So, if hobbits are around in the Second Age, but nobody knows about it, the Ents cannot be going to teach them anything. Or, according to what Tolkien wrote, the hobbits ain't there yet. In which case, the Ents aren't going to teach them anyway. But I digress. Let's continue. They did this to honor Ivana, the Valar who is responsible for nurturing and thriving the natural world. She is the Valar who Arondir tells Bronwyn about when he teaches her the significance of the Alfrin seeds, and she is the patron of the Ents and their wives. After the fall of Morgoth, when the Entwives first went east, their gardens were said to live blossomed into their gardens were said to live blossomed into full and beautiful lands where they raised their entlings and lived in harmony with the surrounding races. This is roughly the point in time at which the current Rings of Power series has just finished, especially considering that many fans are convinced that the Ent seen fleetingly in the first episode was holding the hand of an Entling child. That is a possibility. That is what you see right over. I'm just trying to get to my thing here. There we go. That is what you see right here. I'm thinking that is probably an Entling. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. Seems like it, though. Seems like it could be. But anyway, let's continue reading. Entling. First episode was holding the hand of an Entling child. Okay. However, the revelation of Sauron is the start of disaster for these peaceful beings, because Sauron's growing strength and spreading of evil is what is thought to have destroyed the Entwives just before the start of the Third Age. The Battle of the Last Alliance is an amalgamation of the forces of King Gil-galad and his elven army, paired with Elendil and Isildur, who lead an army of men from Peligir, which will later become the Lord of the Rings Kingdom of Gondor. These combined forces march to the site that will later become the Dead Marshes to meet Sauron at war, a war that rages for over 7 years. And within that time, there are many casualties before Isildur cuts the ring from Sauron's finger. These casualties are thought to include the Entwives because their beautiful gardens were suspected to have grown on the lands around the river Anduin. These lands were burned to a crisp by Sauron in a raging fire that he sent for miles, in order to make them impassable by the Alliance marching against him and prevent them from crossing the river. During the blaze, it is entirely possible that the Entwives couldn't escape and were caught in the middle of this war that was never theirs. Yes, Sauron does engage in a scorched earth policy, and yeah, it's quite possible. Okay, I can't argue with that. Let's see. This patch of land where their gardens once grew strong and beautiful is now known as the Brown Lands because of the scorches on the earth that will never heal. The Entwives' deaths were never confirmed, which is why the Ents still search for them, believing them only to have gone missing, and why Treebeard asks Merry and Pippin if they have seen any of in their lands. But the fact that they haven't been around for over 1,000 years and that there have been no new Entlings born in all that time suggests that this terrible theory about their death may be true. If they were not burned during the Battle of the Last Alliance, this remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in Tolkien's works. So maybe the next series will detail more of the Ents and their search for their long lost loved ones. Well, it is kind of confirmed, you could say. I think it's Tolkien letter 144. Yeah, I think it's 144. I'd have to look it up and confirm it. But in one of his letters, again, possibly 144, he kind of says he says that he kind of says that yeah, they wouldn't have made it out, that they're done. They were offed, to put it lightly. They were matchsticked, if you would be so inclined. Yeah, okay. So there you go. That's the article. Just something I wanted to bring up here, just to give you a point of reference, as to what they're actually talking about in terms of where all of this is happening. If you see here, this is Fangorn, okay? That's supposedly where the Ents and the Entwives came out of. And this right here, it actually says the Brown Lands. This is the area that sort of gets the scorched earth policy. Okay, there's the Anduin River and stuff like that. And Sauron did that to sort of slow down the approach of the forces that were coming towards him in Mordor. So this area was sort of, this is where his scorched earth policy took effect, and that's allegedly where they were. And it's kind of hard to dispute the fact that they're probably no longer with us. But yeah. So interesting article. I'm curious as to what your guys' take is on that. What do you think? Do you think we're going to see Ents or Entwives in season 2? Would you care? I don't know. I'm kind of obviously, as a Tolkien fan, I'd love to see any sort of high value visual effects that representing the Ents or the Entwives. At the same time, I don't trust these guys to not screw it up. I'm sorry, I just don't. So I don't know. I don't know if I want them to mess with the Ents. Maybe leave the Ents alone. Leave the Ents out of it. They didn't do anything to you. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Do you think we're going to see Ents in season 2? Do you want to see Ents in season 2? Do you trust the Rings of Power showrunners and writers to do justice to the Ents if they include them in season 2? Those are the questions. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. And remember to give the video a thumbs up, give it a like, share it if you're so inclined. Hit the notification bell if you want to know when I put out the next video. And above all else, please subscribe, because it helps the channel. It gets me out there and it helps me screw with the algorithm. And I'm all about screwing with algorithms. So, yeah, I will talk to you guys on the next one. Until then, peace out. Peace.